Alright guys, welcome back to How to Record Drums. We're on the mixing stage and now we're talking about reverb. We've started with expander gates, we moved on to EQ, and then we had another video about compression. So now we're moving on to adding some space using some effects and mainly reverb to make your drums sound like they weren't recorded solely in a small bedroom, home studio, basement, whatever. Just trying to make it sound a little bit more fuller and big and spacious and professional. So I made another auxiliary track. So I did on a Mac, I did Shift Command in, and I did a stereo auxiliary track. I'm not gonna do it again, but that's what I created here, and I labeled it drum verb. The output is going to our master fader here, just like everything else. The input, I set an empty bus, which was 8, 9, or 7 and 8, and I named it drum verb. And then I'm gonna send a copy of the kick, snare, rack, floor, and overheads to this auxiliary track, drum verb, kind of similar, very similar, exactly the same like we did to the parallel compression track. And then I can adjust the volumes of how much I send of each track to this verb to get the exact amount of verb that I want on each individual track. It makes it sound like the drums were recorded all together in a nice room. So the verb I have, you can use any verb. This is one that's really good. It comes with the Slate Digital Virtual Mix Rack collection, but you can use use a stock reverb, just a plate or room. Play around with it, find the sound you want. Get this off. And then don't be afraid to EQ your reverb as well. Like I rolled off the low end, top end, because I don't need all that low end information on the reverb. Rolled off some top end, and boost a little bit in the upper mids, just because the high mid frequencies, because it helps you find it a little better, hear it in the mix. Nothing crazy. And then I also compressed my reverb just a little bit, just to get it to sound a little bit more fuller. So let's set up a send track to the drum verb, and we'll start hearing what that sounds like. So send a copy to drum verb, and then I'll just drag a copy over to each one. Let's get rid of that, and then to the overheads right there. So let's start with this, with the snare, see what that sounds like sending to this reverb. Oh, sorry. What's going on? I did drum parallel compression. Let's do drum verb. That's what I want. Couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting any sound. Here we go. Let's find a snare hit. All right, let's do the kick. Just a little bit on the kick. I like a little bit of reverb on the kick. Just a little bit. All right. See what these toms sound like. Oh, that's not what I wanted to hit. Let's see here. Let's try the overheads. Be careful, don't add too much because I get the cymbals all weird. Let's see what that sounds like. Alright, let's play that all together. Just add some space, guys. It's subtle. Again, I have a plate room, pre-delay. Pre-delay on a reverb is the amount of time in between the actual hit of a snare and then when you hear the reverb. So if you had no pre-delay, it'd kind of be like the snare hit and the reverb are one. But if you add a little bit of pre-delay, like 20 milliseconds, even smaller, there's a little tiny delay before the reverb actually is heard, and it's milliseconds, so it makes it sound like a little bit more space, and it actually lets the snare cut through, or whatever source you're putting the reverb on, come through a little bit before the reverb hits, so it doesn't sound like it's all washed out. So that's why I set the pre-delay just a little bit. And then I EQ'd, so let's turn off the EQ, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. Just helps you find it a little bit. Rolls off that low end that we don't need, so don't muddy everything up in the track. Don't need super high end, just a little bit of mid-range, nothing crazy. I kind of exaggerated the mid-range there so you could hear it. And I just compress it a little bit. So let's get her. Just adds a little bit more fatness of the reverb and brings it up to where you can hear it. So I'm gonna play a little bit, kick it on and off, and just listen to the dry drums and then the drums with some reverb on it, and adds a little space. So I'm gonna play it with it on or off, and then kick it on. That's it, guys. That's using a little bit of drum reverb to add some more space to your drums so it doesn't sound like it was recorded in a 10 by 10 bedroom or small living room or basement. So it just makes it sound like it was recorded in a nice medium to large room of a big recording studio. And so you can add that little bit of extra professional polish to a home recording of drums. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to incorporate some samples. I'm going to use some sampled professional hits, kicks, snares, toms, and try to make it sound huge and like it was really recorded in a big professional studio. So if you have access to some kind of drum replacement, I'm going to show you how to use that. So let's move on to the next video.